assessing what you have. No one, except a new homeowner building a new house, starts with a blank slate. You might introduce new gardens into an existing landscape, but you're going to start with whatever's already there. If you assess what you have before you start planning what you want, goals have a way of coming into focus quicker. First, go out to your street and look at your home and yard with the critical eye of a passerby. What sticks out? What do you like? What don't you like? The most important objective is to plant gardens that complement your house. For example, if your house has clean Scandinavian lines, you don't want the parts of your yard visible to outsiders full of tropical or cottage gardens. If you have a Tudor home, you probably don't want the front yard full of wildflowers. How to assess your yard. Sometimes low-tech solutions work better than computer programs. Assessing your yard and planning your garden relies on 3 low-tech techniques. You'll use the first low-tech technique in assessing your yard. You're going to take pictures of your house from all angles, and you're going to put them together in a panorama of the yard. Note, if you're adding one garden to the backyard, you can skip this step, but if you work through all the steps, you'll have an objective record of your yard. As you update your yard, you can just update your records to reflect the changes. If you're only working on one part of the yard, you can assess just that area. To build a panorama. Equipment: 2 or more pieces of poster board, camera, and printer if using a digital camera. Tape or glue. It helps if you have a wide-angle lens or a zoom feature on your camera. If not, you can still cobble together a panorama of your property. 1. Take pictures of every angle of your yard, starting with the view from the street. 2. Take one set of pictures looking toward the house. 3. Take one set of pictures panning out from the house. 4. Take close-up photographs of all existing gardens. 5. Print or develop pictures. 6. Divide the pictures into 3 piles: those that look toward the house, those that look away from the house, close-ups of existing gardens. 7. Tape each of the first 2 stacks of photographs onto a piece of poster board. You may need more than one piece of poster board for each stack to approximate a panorama of your yard. You can leave the 3rd stack of photographs loose. 8. Look at each panorama with a critical eye to discover what you like and what you want to change. Even if you want to change the entire look, you'll find salvageable plants, shrubs and plants that you can transplant to another part of the yard. As you study your panoramas, you'll notice eyesores that you wouldn't normally notice. Garbage cans in need of camouflage, an untidy hedge, rose bushes that need nothing more than a simple prune. What about those gas and electric meters? You will find eyesores that escape your notice for years, and you'll want to build camouflage into the design. For now, just make notes. View a couple of quick tutorials on how to be a great garden photographer. Refer to the resource guide for 2 easy tutorials. Transfer the existing landscape to graph paper. Next, you're going to transfer all that good information from your panorama to paper. The panorama gave you a good visual overview. This next exercise will give you a more precise picture of your yard. It'll be closer reality because you're going to draw roughly to scale. Plotting your yard is tedious work. Enlist help. Gather the family and a few friends on the weekend and make a party of it. You'll need several tape measures so several people can take measurements at the same time. You can work with the graph paper on the clipboard and supervise your crew. With help, you'll have this task finished in a few hours. Note, if you prefer to plan your garden on the computer, visit the Better Homes and Gardens Plan a Garden site. You'll find the link in the resource guide. How to plot your yard on graph paper. Equipment: graph paper, lead pencil with a good eraser, clipboard, tape measure or yardstick, ruler or straight edge, compass for round objects like mature trees, stakes or similar. Don't obsess over perfection in this exercise. Keep telling yourself that you're drawing roughly to scale. Whatever you end with will prove useful as you continue to plan your garden. You can use 1 square on the graph to represent 1 foot, 1 yard, or whatever measure you like, as long as you use the measure consistently. Use a yardstick or a tape measure to measure distances, and use the stakes to mark areas as you finish. Attach your graph paper to a clipboard so you can carry it with you, or at the least, keep the drawing close by so you don't have to keep running inside the house to make notes. 1. Start by drawing your house to scale. You'll fill in the accurate measurements later. That's why you're working with pencil and a good eraser. 2. Add doors, windows, patios, garages, doghouses, and tool sheds. 3. Add driveways. 4. Add gardens, ponds, existing trees, and other landscaping features. 5. Make notes of underground gas lines or fixtures that prevent you from planting over them. Note fences, garbage cans, anything that you noticed in your panorama that may need work. 6. Make notes of everything that you like. For example, suppose that you have a hammock and it's located in the perfect spot. Make a note of it. You want a roadmap not just of necessary changes, but of trees, shrubs, and gardens. Anything that you want to keep. 7. Take measurements of all structures, fixtures, and gardens, and take measurements between structures. Make a note of each measurement on the graph. You can adjust the drawing after you finish taking all of the measurements. Note: measure and note diagonal distances between structures to ensure greater accuracy. This is the only way to get an accurate rendering. 8. After you've taken all of the measurements, compare the graph to your measurements and make any necessary adjustments to the drawing. 9. Finally, identify elements that you will not change by outlining them in ink. Run a pen or a felt-tipped marker over the original pencil lines. Include your house, your driveway, pool, patio, gardens, anything that will remain as it is now during this transformation phase. Here's a tip. To measure free-form structures like a pond, take measurements for the length at different points and the width at different points. Measure it diagonally as well. With all of these measurements, it's easier to make a rough drawing. Using diagonal measurements to supplement measurements for length and width is called triangulation. Make the following notes on your graph: sunny, partial shade, and full shade areas. Areas where nothing grows. That probably suggests poor soil if it's not a full shade area. Areas with poor drainage. Areas that light rain, anything other than a downpour, cannot reach. Areas with compacted soil. Dig roughly a foot deep in the areas where you might plant a new garden. Areas with strong afternoon sun. Rocky areas. Sloping areas. Now that you know exactly what you have a starting point. Keep your starting point in mind as you assess your needs in the next section. In fact, keep the drawing in front of you, because you may find that you don't need as many new gardens as you first thought. Put your thoughts on paper. Next, you're going to make 3 lists. 1. What I love about my yard. 2. What I hate about my yard. 3. Plants I want to move from their present location to a new